Welcome to my channel. And that is my makeup. So like, Hi guys, I'm Olivia Gold. Welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm a marketer and brand strategist and a fashion and beauty enthusiast. So on this channel, you get a mix of my marketing tips, personal stories, and career insights, as well as some nice, fun, girly stuff. I mentioned a couple videos ago, I'm on a YouTube challenge where I'm uploading every week. This is someone that's really inconsistent on YouTube for various reasons, which I've talked about, but in the year in Q4, I really want to give you guys a video every week. New series, and it's specifically about just really making sure I'm giving value to my black women in the marketing space. I'm a black woman myself, duh. So it's only right that I can my experience, and hopefully that equips you guys with the knowledge. And I've really seen the people that have commented and been like following are of color. Of course, this may be helpful to you if you're a black male, Asian background, ethnicity. So I'm really excited to kick this off because it's something that's been on my heart, something that I've wanted to do, and I've got some stories for days. Let's kind of get this going. It's all about climbing the corporate ladder as a black woman in marketing specifically. Only right to acknowledge and talk about what's clear, that the experience for a black woman is very different to another race, unfortunately, and that's just a reality. And I think it's important to acknowledge it instead of not acknowledging it and thinking that you're like everyone else because you go into this situation blindly. That's just not the case. Like, the experience is very bespoke, and of course some people have great positive experiences and some people don't, and I think it's important to acknowledge both because both of these situations can coexist at the same time. But what is most important is that we're having open conversations, we're talking about bad experiences, good experiences, and hopefully helping each other share in terms of how everyone can grow and rise, specifically in the marketing space. Things I want to talk about is lessons that I have learned, and hopefully that will help you guys. And the first one I want to get right into it is I am Nigerian. So my parents were born and raised in Nigeria and then came here to the UK. I was born and raised here, but of course my household was Nigerian, so I was raised up in the culture, all of that good stuff. I think that I realized coming from an African household where education is key, what was kind of drilled into me was that the facial books, you need to put your head down and work hard. And in actuality, when you work in marketing and in the creative space, in the creative field, where part of your skill set is your creative ideas and how you see visions, you're able to tell a story, that means you need to speak up. When I had my internship where I was working there for 5-6 months and I was paid minimum wage as a paid intern, I thought, I'm gonna nail this, Olivia. You're gonna go in, have your head down and just write. You're gonna, do what they say. You're gonna follow what they say. Don't get involved in any politics, just put your head down. And whilst I did learn a lot and I probably wasn't disruptive to anyone, I wasn't memorable either because I was trying so hard to conform and assimilate versus actually sharing my voice. Even if something small, it's actually continued way into my career. I don't think I would say till about 2022. So the last 3 to 4 years, I could confidently say I found my voice, and I will go into establishments and share my point of view. In course of my career so far, as I've been in the industry for 12 years, I would say for predominantly more than half of it, I put my head down and just did the work in my emails, getting stuff done, making stuff happen. But as I mentioned, in the creative industry, where a lot of your personable skills, how you interact with others, how you collaborate, how you network, all of these elements really contributes you to being an outgoing person, being confident, being able to speak up. What was ingrained in my mind was putting your head down and talking. First thing I had to do was unlearn that mindset. That's what I was told when you're trying to really perform in your education, perform in your career. When you get into the marketing field, that does not help you. Like, I just want to say that now. It's important that your voice is heard, that you are remembered, and that you make sure that you are known in the room. Of course, you do have to be strategic and how you do that, and we can talk about that in another video. But I wanted to kind of kick off and say, make sure that you're not taking on informations that your parents have given to you. And of course, it comes from a nice place. You have to understand if it's coming from a place of fear or it's coming from a place of understanding what you want to do in the industry that you're in. There I was, like, hard being quiet, but then you have to think the people that you work with, they don't really know you. They don't really know if you even know your stuff because you're not saying anything. You're just nodding, you're saying yes, you're agreeing to what they say. It doesn't mean you don't have value to add, that you don't have nothing to say. Point of view is not worth anything. Realize the shift in work and professional environments now that I'm way more comfortable to say how I feel, to say an opinion, all constructive things. Let's make it clear, it's not just about talking about anything. It's making sure what you bring to the table is constructive, it adds value, it's creative, it's positive, and when it is negative, you need to make sure you're delivering it in a constructive way so it doesn't offend anyone. Like, how do you help all those people in the room, the people that you're talking to, and the overall goal and objective of what you're trying to achieve with a project. Next lesson that I wanted to talk about that I learned in a space where you're the only one and that not get the best of you. How do you navigate in that environment where you are the only one of color, where you are the only black female? It's hard. I've had to experience that in most roles. A couple realities, I feel like that all comes into one, and it's very layered, very like complex, but it is what it is. Like, we're in the UK, and being a black woman, specifically being African, we are a minority. So when you do go into these establishments, you have to understand, like, how did this establishment come to what it is? It's not by black people, it's by white people. And the reality of that doesn't mean that you're not supposed to be in the room. That's the thing that needs to be understood to yourself. When you walk in that room, you walk in with your head held high. I can never say that, Triple H. That needs to be established and known first. And I'm saying that now because I want to make sure you know that whatever room that you're in, the background that you are, you need to understand that you're in there for a reason, and you need to make sure that you know that for yourself. Because what tends to happen is when those people are not used to seeing you, how they approach you and how they talk to you, one, sometimes they don't even notice you and recognize that you're there, but sometimes you need to make sure that you don't take that on as your problem. That's not your problem that they don't see you, that's their own bias that's really coming out there. And for example, I had a situation where I was in a huge meeting, senior stakeholders, and I remember going in the rooms early morning. We were setting up and we're meeting huge clients. The person was someone super senior that doesn't usually attend these meetings, but it was such a big deal. Everyone wanted to be a part of it, to be quite honest. So that person came into the room and spoke to everyone, and it's like they were hesitant to speak to me. I know what it is, so I'm not gonna like BS here, and I just want to be honest where, one, you can probably tell out of work they don't really speak to someone that looks like me unless maybe it's serving them or say excuse me, you know, like in a lift, something really like menial. Two, it's like he didn't know my position, so it's like he didn't know how much energy to give me. Of course, if I was someone that was super senior, he would have approached. If I was super junior, probably didn't. So I think there was a lot of ambiguity. Who is she and why is she here and what's her role? It's happened a lot. Everyone was being introduced, then it came to me, and then I was introduced by my colleague that I work with. They said what I do, what area I cover, and they were like, oh, lovely to meet you, da, da, da. And then the eyes went open and then the smile got bigger, and it was just so interesting because you can see the performativeness in it all. And of course, I was professional because that's what I do. I remember thinking about it because I didn't realize how much it took time. It took a lot of space in my mind. I think about it to my husband. I was in a huge meeting today, and someone was there that was super senior that wouldn't really come to this meeting, but they came, and I could tell and feel that they did not want to talk to me. We'll never be in the same bar together. It's just the reality of life, right? But in this space, when you have to be, it's interesting how they act. But in more ways than one in my career. That moment, the fact that it took up that much space in my mind, I definitely probably made them feel comfortable than what I really needed to. But what was important, I was comfortable in the room because I still needed to present, I still needed to perform, I still needed to network with those sort of clients in the room. It's for me to understand when you do clock those people, and making sure that one, you don't give it that much energy, you just make sure that you do deal and talk to the people that do see you, because all that does is just magnify their bias. That was a teachable moment, because a reminder to gonna be in rooms like this more often in my career, and I need to get comfortable with being comfortable within myself and my offering and my expertise and just who I stand in as a black woman, first of all, so that whatever biases that show up in other people, it doesn't shake me. Of course, I still need to be kind to myself. That's why it's important to make sure you're surrounded by a good support system, like my husband, my friends, family, to make sure that you can, rant about it, get it off your system. People build you up and fill you up. However, to know in those moments is who you are. What I always think is, at the end of the day, take these titles away from everyone that we're all mere mortal. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you were in the train station and you saw someone doing something wrong, you wouldn't care. They're a blah blah blah, because you don't have that information. You'll just be like, that's that person in a brown jacket and what they did is wrong. You wouldn't be phased. But it's funny when you're in this professional establishment, how much either hierarchy, status, level of seniority takes precedent over actually how you're supposed to deal with a human being. Teachable moment to myself that I need to make sure that I always stand true in who I am as an individual, as a black woman, as a black marketer, and make sure that I really don't give energy to someone that is not giving any good energy to me or giving me anything at all. Like, the same dust you pay me, I pay you. Move with authority in the space, in the rooms that you're supposed to take up space in. Three, I would say that we talk about a lot is fascination that they have with you. Like, they clearly don't deal with other fellow black women, so when you are in those spaces, they want to know a lot about your life. A couple of things. This is a funny one. I remember when I started a role, like, oh, so what do people call you? Is it Liv? Is it Ollie? And I was like, my name's Olivia. What? I feel like we need to shorten the names to make you feel like Pally to get close to me. No, respect the name. Even when it comes to like the surname and having complications pronouncing it, I'm like, we can say Givenchy, we can say Moschino, we can say Louis Vuitton, we can say Kardashians, we can say Michael Schumacher, we can say all these other names. What we're gonna do today is learn how to say the name and the full name, and it's up to us, me, to tell you if there's another name that I feel comfortable for you to call me. Put that on me to make you feel comfortable. You're gonna learn, yeah? Because the same way you learn stuff to collect your paycheck, the same way you're gonna learn my name out of respect. So important in terms of when you're supposed to cement yourself in a role, cement who you are. If you're an assistant, a graduate, intern, the director, the CMO, that saying that you always say, teach people how to treat you, just a given. Another lesson I've learned as a black woman is boundaries, and I think that's a really critical, important one. I think when you're super keen and you want to get in the industry, doing what they want, you're trying to assimilate, all of these things. A couple of those boundaries for me are, need to have access to my Instagrams and all of these things. LinkedIn, of course, because that's my professional profile. But for someone like me who actually has a personal brand, which I'll go into in a sec, I think it's important that I a fine line. And reason I say that is because this hurt me in the past. It's a complex one because my personal brand has aided me and helped me get these jobs that I have, and has helped me leverage the context for opportunities and to add value to the companies that I've worked in. What's happened as then a teacher's pet, then to a teacher's threat. For example, I had a role where I got the job and it was like super cool, loved it. It's going to Fashion Week, it was a big part of my role when I was in the fashion industry, and the CMO at the time, I had all these connections and I would add value and I would bring it to the business. And on one time I was doing the Life of a Marketing Go event in person, did the event, and then say after the event I came into the office because I did it out of hours. Of course it was 6 to 9 in my personal time. She put flowers on my table and she was like, well done, and I was like, oh my god, that's so sweet. And was I fooled? Fine at first when I was adding so much value. I believe when it was, I don't know what the reason is, what the switch is. I think when she wanted to look like the top dog, so it was a small company at the time, and I guess when she wanted to make sure like she was inserting her authority and who she is, that's when it became an issue. It's happened twice actually, in 2 establishments, both in the fashion industry. Every time, this is so sweet of you, became an issue when I would promo things about the business, and she was like, oh, you know, I don't think you should put that up because, you know, you have certain people that like follow you. And I was just like, but isn't this what you wanted me to do like a couple months ago? But now I'm doing it, now it's a problem. All of those comments started to come in, and experience that I was just like, yeah, I'm not doing this again. For that, when I worked in PR, when I joined, I was doing fashion blogging at the time. I was heavy into it. I had like a blog spot. I was working with Wolford, the brand at the time, and I was doing like a lot of content for them. And then this brand was not a conflict of interest, was not in the same space, was very far left, so it didn't even make sense. The content manager at the time, who I did into when I started, she was like, we need to know everyone that you're working with because, you know, this could be a huge conflict of interest. She wanted me to write down all the brands I was working with and who they are and all of that. I find it interesting because I can just tell she was jealous. Didn't have an idea of how much I was immersed in the industry and how many contacts I did have. Now was a permanent member of the team, and then clearly it's just like every man for themselves. She wanted to make sure like, no, let's keep her stuff on the hush, make sure we can manage it and control it so it doesn't interfere with her trying to impress the founder and the designer itself. So two small instances that really showed me that you have to be very careful, because it's all well and good having these contacts and all of these things, and it can help you get you in the door, but then when you're in the business, it's like you're at their mercy, which is not a good way to feel. I was able to combat that in my career now. I keep a clear boundary. Do not follow me. If you do, I will block you. Not even being funny, because that's how I've had to manage, specifically being a black woman, when you're the only person on the team. There is this fascination with who you are and what your life is, who your friends are and what you do. I'm not being funny, like the life is lit, like the weekends are popping, things that you want to be at if this was your life, but it's not. You want to bring it as a conversation at work, at lunch, or when we're talking. Like, no. My life is not your conversation. It's not your reality show to watch. The measurement of how I manage that is, what would I put, for example, if there was something about me on the internet that everyone knew, that's what I'm willing to share. The things that are not, you don't know, you know? But there's this fascination with our lives and what we do and how we live it, because it's different to them. One side where there is like a genuine intrigue and curiosity, that's where your spirit of discernment into place. You can discern where it's coming from. That is just nosy, they just want to be in your business, but they don't really care if you were burning. So I'm gonna give you the time and space for. So I have to create clear boundaries. It helps me navigate, this is my life outside of work, this is what I'm passionate about, but then in my work, like this. And I'm very much myself. We're, you know, human beings, we're layered. So it's just about understanding the version of you that you want to bring to the role and not having to assimilate to them, give them all of you. I think give them the professional side of you, and I think that's fine. That's still you, it's still like genuine, but it just helps you navigate and dealing with people that maybe wouldn't interact with you outside of work, but you still have to deal with them on a daily basis. I think that helps me keep sane, also protect my peace, protect what's important to me, and protect what I care about, and just also protect my blackness and not being used. I'm not the token person for you to verify all your thoughts, considerations, judgments. Moving on, I would say just a couple of things to help you navigate and climb up the ladder as a black woman in marketing is building a personal brand. So whilst I have created boundaries, and I think that's important, now I think it helps you create that personal brand. And for me, how I did that was because I was getting so many rejections when I was applying for jobs when I finished uni, that I was like, the only way I'm going to be able to connect with these people, specifically when I wanted to get in the fashion industry, was building a personal brand. So before I had a blog, when I was blogging fashion and beauty content, all fashion and lifestyle content, and I was doing street style pictures and posting that online. I was able to go to like fashion week with different brands, so that was off my own back. And the reason I did that was I knew I had an interest in fashion. Any relations or friends that work in the industry, this is something I'm going to have to invest in myself. And at the time, because I saw how much blogging was becoming so big and there was so much momentum behind it, I was like, this is what I wanted to do. And I've always loved visuals, so I was like, why don't I create that myself with my personal style? Kind of got birthed into building a personal brand. Evolved into marketing was actually very natural. Triggered it was I had an interview for a huge fashion brand, a British fashion brand in the UK, and I remember going to the interview. I'd done 3 internships, so at least when I'm applying after uni, I'm not applying with a blank canvas, just theory and not practical. I wanted to make sure I had like a bit of both. It was my strategy, right? So interview, and I met with 2 people. I was in a huge room, had my CV dressed to the nines, as you're supposed to. It was going on, and then they were asking me questions so much to the point it's like I had to prove that I did these internships and did these things. Halfway through the interviews, a 3rd person walked. She walks in, and it's a long table, so they walk all the way down to the other side. And then I'm sitting there, basically me, and questioned if I'd actually done these internships on my CV, like genuinely didn't believe that I did it. I understand that people can lie on CVs, and the fact that you would come to the interview and have such a preconceived notion of who I am when you don't know me from Adam. And I remember leaving that interview and I was dumbfounded. Like, I literally walked for a long time before I even got on the train, because I was like, I can't believe this person was questioning everything that I had done. It's really frustrating, because I was interviewing, did the right thing in terms of getting an internship, but that felt like it was not enough. Cool, I need to build something of my own, because what I have on paper is not enough for the establishments at the time. Obviously that was what I thought and what I believed. Whilst I was blogging fashion content, I also started blogging Life of a Marketing Girl, I was like, why don't I talk about my journey? Because bloody hell, this is a long journey within itself, and it was only just beginning. Started looking at campaigns that I liked, so I blogged about it, had a point of view. So then I'm just like, okay, if I ever go an interview like that and they don't believe me, see my blog, she has a point of view on this. She has like marketing knowledge. Go into spaces and they don't believe who you are, clearly have a preconceived notion, and they have a bias that they've brought into the room already. It's another difficulty that we constantly have to deal with, and having to act and move from a place of excellence just to overcome that, which can be very, very draining. That's how I built my personal brand, and my personal brand has saved me in so many situations, have kept me going, has aided me and helped me to keep the context that I have. Not everyone wants to start a blog, that's not what I'm saying, but I have to create a personal brand for yourself that's not attached to a company, so you can stand on your own. So you have to be online if that's not who you are. Of course, today there's so many ways to do that. So many people have like blogs, they have newsletters, so many people have podcasts, even on LinkedIn, how they utilize it and how they talk about what's going on in the industry. Just doing those small things just helps you create a personal brand, so people know what your point of view is, and it's not based on where you work and what you're attached to, because all of that can change. Your expertise, how you're perceived, is your personal brand and your integrity, which you should hold very dearly and very highly and protect it at all costs. How do you stand out, and how do you make sure that you are the expert and your point of view is the point of view? And I think a personal brand just meant that. So when people come with their biases, preconceived notions, you can just disband it because you're just credible in your area. And I think that's what I felt I had to do, and has really helped me. So I do think it takes some time to figure out what you're comfortable with and what a personal brand looks like for you, but I would recommend that. And then the last thing that I would recommend is the power of networking. There's different ways to network in work, when you're speaking to people, third-party suppliers, partners, whether that's beauty, fashion, deal with photographers, videographers, agents, like talent agents in the areas, finance, PR, comms. These are all people that you are networking with. Would look like adding them on LinkedIn, making sure you're keeping in touch with, or you've built a bond with, or there's some sort of like personal relatability, or this is one that you've naturally gotten on with. That in itself is networking. Don't underestimate that networking means you have to go to every event, stand there and talk to 10 people. Yes, that is an element of networking, but it is not the only way. How you network, and you network what's best for you. If you do want to climb to the top and you want to be super senior, and it is a hard graft of building relationships, specifically in different companies, different establishments. You do have to put your slow and keep up with certain people that you're interested in and you're inspired by, because you can always take a nugget that they are doing in their career if you are not where they are. Nothing wrong with that. Like, I've told a story before how I met like a past mentor. It was because I was aware of her and basically followed her journey. So in that moment where we met and I was able to interact with her, I made that memorable, and I also followed up. So that's kind of how I've navigated my career. I feel like if there's anyone I was interested in, anyone that I really love their career journey, sometimes it's not always about asking for something, up to them and just saying, I love what you do and I respect what you do. I don't have something for everyone, and that's okay, because it's not by force either. Like, I'm someone that's not about to force it. There's no harm. How beautiful is that, to come up to someone and show them love, that you support what they do. It's positive energy that's always going to come back to you. That's how I've navigated like networking. And one thing I would say is, don't feel like you have to network up, you can network across. And I was doing my internship, which was paid, and I was earning minimum wage. After I finished, someone else had started. We didn't meet, but like, she was like, oh, you're working there, I'm about to start working there. Kept in touch throughout the years, and throughout the years she has excelled in PR, always kept in touch. And we would meet, you know, like gradually, like maybe every year or every so often, just to talk about how we're getting on. Came to an opportunity where I was interviewing for a role at a company that she worked in. Was this the right move? Is this what I want to make? But I was able to speak to her on the phone and ask all these questions about this said company. We've just evolved through the years and kept in contact, and that's also the power of networking. It's not about networking up and speaking to the top person. There's so much power and opportunity and community and support in the people that you've met along the way, and keeping those said relationships. It doesn't mean you need to be best friends, but it's just a respect and understanding, the kind of elements that have helped me stay grounded in this space. And of course, ground in terms of the key fundamentals, that's kind of helped me stay in the industry, navigate the downfalls, and what's me going outside of being attached to where I work. So hardworking as a black woman. You wear that armor on your face, but I think it's important that you establish boundaries and understand why you are on the journey that you are on. I think building a personal brand has allowed me to separate myself from the establishments that I work in, so I can just evolve as a person versus, oh, I'm here, so that means I'm thriving, and if I'm not here, I'm not. Like, perception is whack. It's not true. Don't believe that. A couple of things I wanted to talk about. I wanted to keep it short and sweet, but particularly when it comes to black women in marketing, it's a huge conversation because there is not many of us at all. I follow most of the people that work in the industry. If I'm not, hit me up so I can follow you, because this community is so important, and even doing this has helped me stay in it because of the people that I meet and I connect with. I'm doing my first online Life Marketing Girl event on November 21st, and I'm doing it with someone that's amazing. She is a force to be reckoned with. She is working for a global brand, working in the beauty industry. So just to give you a hint of the area that we're going to be covering, but even if you do not have an interest in that area, I think there's so many nuggets that you're going to get from this, just because she's so experienced and she's pivoted in a way that you wouldn't believe. Stay tuned, because I'll be sharing the details for you to sign up and join, and it's free, so come along and hear an amazing story. Till then, make sure you like, subscribe, and tune in and wait for the next video. Until next time.